about, you know, what's coming up in the upcoming elections. As I've promised, I've been here every Saturday at 2:00 since pretty much since I qualified for judge. I'm a little bit, sorry, I'm going to fix the camera just a little bit because I'm a little bit off center and it's driving me crazy. So, all right, I think that's better. So today, let's see what I've received some questions. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today has to deal with the question that I get a lot that I get a lot about, like I hear a lot about. So one of the things that I am asked very frequently is whether or not judicial candidates can say certain things, and why is it that we don't hear about judicial candidates and debates, and why is it that judicial candidates don't run by party, etc. So that's one of the main things that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about today, and I wanted to share with everybody what are known about the judicial canons that everybody has to, every judge and every judicial candidate has to basically abide by. And that's basically what governs these races, and that's why you don't see debates that include judges. That's why you don't see judges that talk about whatever their political beliefs are. It's really there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to being a judge or being a judicial candidate. So number one, and I'll just kind of go through these a little bit. Judges run on a nonpartisan ticket. That means that there is no Democrat or Republican on the ticket or on the ballot. It means simply that the judges are running based on qualifications, or the judicial candidates are running based on his or her qualifications, experience, education, etc. So one of the things that you as a voter perhaps is maybe a little bit frustrating or difficult is, well, how do you know anything about any of these judicial candidates? And that's where it does get a little bit difficult. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to share about who I am, what my experience is, what my background is, why I am doing what I'm doing, because there isn't any real one central place to go to that you can find out all the information about judicial candidates. So, for example, in these upcoming elections on August 18th in Miami-Dade County, I am in one race. Okay, and I have one person. It's going to be one vote for one of two people, either my opponent or myself, hopefully myself. But I'm not the only judicial race. There are six other judicial races, and one has nothing to do with the other. So you can have a judicial candidate, and you may be supporting a judicial candidate in another race, and that doesn't have any impact whatsoever on my race. So it takes a little bit of digging. Unfortunately, it's not as clear as other positions, other election, other elected officials in their races. So judicial candidates are a little bit more difficult. They're also towards the end of the ballot, so it almost becomes a you have to really know and look and really go there and to get information. So, for example, I have a website. My website is deniseforjudge2020.com, and that also will explain to you. It'll give you my experience, my community service, what I've done, and it gives you information about me. And that's one good source. There are other sources. There's judicial forums around the county. Different organizations hold their own judicial forums, and to get to their members and give their members information. But as I've said before, the judicial races are often ignored, but they're so important. It's actually deniseforjudge2020.com. Just wanted to make sure we get the right website. Thank you so much. I just wanted to give a shout out to a few people here. Vanessa, hi Sean, Jonathan, Eileen, Maria, Bill, Yvette, Vanessa. Just wanted to give a shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining me every Saturday, or those of you who are new and haven't joined me before. You can see on the Facebook page, you can see the posts that discuss prior live feeds, that are live videos that I've done, and I give information on different things. So going back to the judicial races, just briefly, well, do you really want a judge who's going to be ruling in a case based on his or her political interests? And no, that's not what you want. And that's why judges are nonpartisan. Judges are supposed to be impartial. Judges are supposed to basically hear the evidence or hear the arguments and make a decision based on the law. And that's why, and unfortunately, that's why also people don't care about the judges, because the judges are nonpartisan. But I tell you, and again, and this is kind of like my battle cry, judicial judges are the elected officials that you are much more likely to come face to face with any given day versus the president or the mayor or your state rep or your senator. Judges, you as a resident of this community, as a resident of this county, you have a much more likely much higher probability to come face to face with the judge than any other elected official. Why is that? Because judges do rule on cases that affect your daily lives. So for example, I practice in the area of marital and family law. And I've had cases where I will have a hearing on a child custody matter, and the judge rules that moment, that day. And when you are walking out that door, somebody's life has changed. Either somebody lost custody, someone got custody, the time sharing with the children changed. That happens immediately. So judges have that kind of impact on our daily lives. Then you have criminal matters. I say, well, I'm not a criminal. Okay, that's fine. You may not be a criminal, but you may be called to jury duty, and you have to interact with a judge in that circumstance. So circuit court judges deal with felony cases. Those are cases that are punishable by more than a year. So the misdemeanors are dealt with by county judges. I am running for circuit court judge. Let's see, what else? So let's say a contract dispute or a car accident. You get involved in a car accident and someone sues you for damages. Well, you're dealing with a circuit court judge, depending on the amount of damages you have. So I use those as examples because I think we sometimes don't know. I've spoken to residents of this county that didn't even realize that the judges can be voted for. And that's, it's not surprising, honestly, because unless you're in this, sometimes you just don't know. But this is why I'm doing what I'm doing every Saturday at 2:00 on Candidates Corner, just to share a little bit about myself, share a little bit about what I'm doing, answering your questions if I can, because the judicial canons also do not allow me to answer every single question. So it really just depends on the question, and I can't form an opinion, and I can't answer a question on a specific issue because I can't predispose myself, or I can't. The implication is that I've made a decision in a particular case without, or a particular issue, and so if a case with that type of issue comes before me, I'm already predisposed to make a ruling. So, so let's see. So let me just remind everybody a little bit about the upcoming elections. You have August 18th, 2020. That is when Election Day is happening. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that is when you have to go to your specific precinct. On your voter's registration card, it'll tell you go to a school or a library or somewhere, but that you have to go to your specific precinct in those cases. For early voting is August 13th through August 16th. So it starts, I believe, I said August 13th. I meant August 3rd through August 16th. So let me just correct that again. Early voting is August 3rd through August 16th. Let me just see real quick. Yes, so August 3rd is a Monday, and then August 16th is a Sunday. So you have two different types of schedules, Monday through Friday of the first week. It's open in the morning until 3 p.m., and then Monday through Friday, the second week, it's open from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And then the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, it's also open from 8 to 4. So there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to go out early and vote. There's also your mail-in ballots. And I know I said this last week, and I'm saying this again. Mail-in ballots are also a very easy way to vote. Make sure you request it. Another thing that's important, that if you don't know or if you're not aware, if you haven't updated your signature with the elections department, you should also do so. I think if you go to, I have it, I dropped it last time, but if you look in the comments from last week's post, but I'll tell you now, miamidade.gov/elections is a great source, and it'll tell you from there. You can go anywhere. You can register to vote. You can request your mail-in ballot. You can get the early voting schedule. You can find your precinct. You can even get your sample ballot once sample ballots are released. I spoke with the elections department. I want to say it was yesterday, and they're not going to be having those sample ballots probably available, or at least the ballot numbers for the different candidates, probably until the end of June, around June 30th. Okay, so miamidade.gov/elections is a really, really good source. Okay, so let's see what else. I've had some other questions about trying to look here for my questions on what are some of the things that I'm doing now as I'm campaigning. Okay, so we're still in coronavirus lockdown for the most part. So a lot of the places that we would normally go to try to interact with voters, voters are not wanting to. Well, first of all, you can't have access, or secondly, you have a situation where people understandably don't want to interact too closely with strangers. So that's been a very different and interesting campaign for us. So what have I been doing? So I've been I've had meet and greets with small groups and getting the word out that way. I've been doing the candidates corner, been going to forums, been calling people. So if you're watching and you want to support by getting out the vote and support by sharing about these upcoming elections, then I would ask that even in your text messages, you can text your friends and your family. You can ask them. You can email us at connect@deniseforjudge2020.com. You can connect with us. We can even send you a digital sign that you can then go on and share with others. That is the only way for the most part to get through, because a lot of times it's not even, it doesn't matter. And I'm actually going to ask this question, and I would love to see the comments about this. Everybody's like, well, the TV, you can do TV, you can do news, you can do radio. Not news, you can do TV, you can do the radio, you can send, postcards. And so I'm curious, for those of you watching and later watching, if you can share with me this, the answer to this question. How persuaded are you, or any voter that you or someone by receiving something in the mail from a candidate? Sometimes, it's when it's election season, you start getting the mailers and you start getting these big old postcards. And I personally don't really pay attention to them myself, but I'm just curious to know how many of you out there have are persuaded by that, just in general. I think with the judicial races, when folks want information, they will look at anything, but I'm just really curious about that. So if you want to comment about that below, let me just check here some of the comments. Let me see. All right. Hey, Brianna, how are you? Hey, Juan. Hi, Stephanie. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just curious about that. What influences you to vote for a particular candidate? or a particular judicial candidate, I would be curious to know that. So if you're watching this video and you want to comment on that below and just let me know, that is definitely something that I would be interested to know. So just a little bit about me. We've got some new folks on here. Just a little bit about who I am. Again, my name is Denise Martinez-Scanziani, and I am running for Circuit Court Judge. So that means that anybody in Miami-Dade County can vote for me August 18th. So if you have left the county, you no longer live in the county, but you have family who live in the county, or you have friends who live in the family, or you have contacts that are still live in the county, you can definitely share about me and let them know and ask them to vote. Because what I have found, I will tell you this, and this is why this is so important. People are much more likely to vote for a particular judicial candidate when they have no information about that candidate, if they've been referred by somebody else or they've been motivated by somebody else. Because the fact is that most voters will not independently research the judicial candidates. They will, if someone asks them to vote for this person, and they trust that person, that will be enough. So believe me when I tell you how important it is just to spread the word and tell a friend. I do not say that lightly. Telling a friend is very important. Whether you are currently a resident of Miami-Dade County or you've moved away, tell your friends in Miami-Dade County who are registered to vote. The election is August 18th, and it is early voting is before that, and then absentee ballots or the mail-in votes will be coming out probably in the middle of sometime in the middle of July. So the voters will start receiving that. I also prefer to read about the candidates online. Somebody posted, Yvette commented on that. I do as well. But the reality is that most people do not. Most people, like I said earlier, a lot of people don't even know that you can vote for judges. And so as a former high school teacher, I love to educate and tell everybody and give everybody as much information, not only about myself, but also about these upcoming local elections. So the rest of this time that I'm here, I want to just share a little bit again about who I am, where I come from, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Some of these videos share different information. So I want to focus it in on a little bit more of a personal side for the rest of the time that we're here together. We have a few minutes left. So once again, my name is Denise Martinez-Scanziani, and I'm running for Circuit Court Judge. I am a lifelong resident of Miami-Dade County, with the exception of when I went to study. I go to the University of Florida, where I graduated undergrad with a bachelor's in criminology, and then I graduated from law school also at the University of Florida. I graduated there with honors. So my lifelong residency of Miami-Dade County, I am a Miami girl. I am not a Miami transplant. I think a lot of folks, you can talk to people. My husband, for example, is a transplant. He's from New York. He grew up in Long Island, and he came down here for high school. And then we met in high school, and we're high school sweethearts. And here we are. I can't believe it's been 27 years that we have been together. But there you have it. So Miami's in my blood. I tried living, when we moved to Gainesville, we thought about where we were going to go. And it was never a question. My roots are here, and my family is here. Now we have 3 children. We have Lucia, who is about to be 18 and getting ready to head to Gainesville herself for college. So that's exciting and scary all at the same time, because it's exciting because I think back to what it was like to be going away to college for the first time. So a lot of opportunities and excitement. And then for me, it's scary. Number one, because I can't believe I have a college freshman. I'm old enough to have a college freshman. But because also it's just, she's my firstborn and she's going to be off on her own. And that's just a little bit crazy. But anyway, we all did it. She'll be fine. Then I have Luke, who is going to be starting his junior year, and Max, who's going to be going into 8th grade. So we still have some kiddos at home, no little kids, little. We have pretty much everybody's a teenager. So it's a little bit of a change for my husband and myself, kind of, they're independent. We do our thing. They're still here, but they really would much rather hang out with their friends than with us at this point, which is fine because that's totally normal. So after I studied at the University of Florida, I ended up coming back I'm sorry, I will definitely start speaking a little bit more slowly. Someone commented on Twitter. I do speak very fast. That's part of my Miami roots. Sorry. So after I graduated from law school, I came back to Miami. And in Miami, I basically took my first job at Legal Aid. And I've shared that before, how passionate I was about my work at Legal Aid, and I was helping one of the most vulnerable communities in South Florida, our senior citizens. And that, to me, that work at Legal Aid marked me because it showed me how easy, or not easy, but how difficult it is for some people to have access to the judicial system, whether it's their age, their financial resources, and whatever it is, it's for me, that vulnerable community marked me, and it opened my eyes to, we take for granted the fact that, well, if you have a legal problem, you hire a lawyer and you go to court. But there are many people that can't do that. They can't afford a lawyer. So at Legal Aid, when I was serving the elderly, and with the elderly, it was something so special because a lot of the times it wasn't even a legal problem. A lot of the times it was, not understanding how to fill out a form, not understanding where the form had to go, not understanding what information they had to provide. Not really the type of work that you need a lawyer for, but for them it was life-changing. For them it was something that if they didn't get that done, maybe they were going to lose an apartment, or they would be evicted from their housing, or if they didn't submit the proper information, maybe they wouldn't get whatever benefit that they were entitled to. So all of that it marked me as an attorney. And it put on me this burden of, I, as an attorney, have the ability to allow and help others access our judicial system. And not everybody can afford an attorney. And so that marked me and my path of community service and my path of work, giving my time pro bono to thousands and thousands of hours of pro bono work that I've done over the years. As an attorney, I've done appeals on a pro bono basis. That means that, there was an issue to appeal, and appeals can be a very, very expensive proposition. And if you don't have the money to appeal a bad ruling, you could be stuck. So I've taken appeals pro bono. I've taken cases pro bono. I've done guardian ad litem work pro bono. And that's particularly rewarding because a guardian ad litem is appointed by a judge. So the judges trust me, to appoint me as a guardian ad litem to become an agent and investigator for a particular child matter. It could be child custody, it could be divorce, it could be domestic violence, whatever it is. And the judges can't go out and speak to the child, and the judges can't go out and speak to the doctors and the teachers. And, so a guardian ad litem gets appointed as an agent of the court, eyes and ears of the court in the particular matter, and then comes back and the guardian has to give recommendations, findings and recommendations. And then the judge at the end of the day is the one who decides. But all the work that the guardian does is weighs a lot in the judge's decision. So the judge has the ultimate decision, but if the guardian comes back and says, well, this is what I found, A, B, C, there was child abuse or child neglect, or there was, no food in the refrigerator, or, the mother has a drug problem, or the father has an anger problem, whatever the case may be, all those things and then the judge has that information to make a decision in a child's life. And that I continue to do to this day. It's something that I think is very important, and it shows I'm often appointed by different family judges to do that type of work. And for me, it's hugely rewarding because I do believe that I make a difference. So I make a difference. So let me see. I have a question here. Let me see. What would you say to people who feel the judicial system is broken? I'd love to know your perspective as an attorney and a future judge. So, the judicial system being broken, and this is where it boils down to one of the matters, one of the things that I wanted to, that I've kind of taken up as my own, banner, is that everybody has the right to be seen and to be heard. I think when we cut corners in that process, which is the right to be seen and to be heard, is due process. So when we start to cut corners in that process, someone didn't get notification of a hearing, they didn't show up. Someone is in a courtroom and they don't get an opportunity to speak. It's that, though, when we start to cut corners because there's a lot of, that we want to move quickly, or maybe someone doesn't have an attorney. I think that is where we see the brokenness of our judicial system, because we are founded on due process. We have the right to substantive and procedural due process. It's a constitutional right. Everyone has the right to be seen and to be heard. So for me, all I will say to those who believe that the judicial system is broken, I would say, I hear you. I mean, I really do. I hear you, and I can see why, under certain circumstances, that is your feeling, and that might be the reality. My statement has always been, if I can give everybody the right to be seen and to be heard, if I treat everybody with respect, if I'm impartial, if I apply the law fairly and impartially, no matter what the outcome is of any given situation that I may have to rule upon as a judge, I truly believe that if folks have the right, have been seen and been heard, they will walk out of that courtroom believing and knowing that they had their day in court. They may not appreciate the outcome. They may not agree with the outcome if the ruling was against them, because at the end of the day, somebody, may win, somebody may lose, and a decision has to be made. But again, if you treat everybody with respect, if you treat everybody fairly, with integrity, if you're impartial, if you're not persuaded by who the attorneys are, if you're not persuaded by who the plaintiffs are as a judge, if you really are truly impartial and you give everybody that right to be seen and to be heard, I think that the people will be satisfied. So I hear it. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to my courtroom, hopefully one day as a future judge, that is my commitment, is to make sure that everybody understands and believes and knows that they had their day in court in my courtroom. Okay, so we are now wrapping up, once again, Candidates Corner. I remind you, I will be here every Saturday up until the Saturday before election at 2:00. Eventually, once we move into August, you will see me. I will be live, but I will be live from a voting location, because that is where I will be on those Saturdays. But in the meantime, I encourage you to share the videos, let people know, let your friends know, let your contacts know, and don't forget, August 18th, elections. Okay, Denise Martinez-Scanziani for Circuit Court Judge. So thank you so very much for tuning in.